Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Timmésha Burgess, creator of this here Fireside Chats for Global Women, because turning pain into power is sexy. I'm out running errands right now. I came off of a hike and I just came to the grocery store to just get some things. And I wanted to put out this video before I continue through the rest of my day, because I think it's so imperative to share what I'm guided to share. And y'all know I only post when I'm guided to share something. So here goes. As you're on the journey of turning your pain into power, as you're on the journey of learning how to be the alchemist in your life, meaning alchemizing, all of your pains into your power, alchemizing, things. So, the whole journey of alchemy is turning lead to gold, right? So those things that are not, those things that don't feel good into things that feel good, those things that you once didn't like, to being empowered by them and to being empowered by them. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because I'm looking around me, so let me focus on this. But anyway, so I wanted to share this video because there was a aha moment, or one of the many aha moments that I've had, and epiphanies. And once I have them, I must share them with those of you here at the Fireside. As you're working through, for those of you who have experienced some sort of sexual exploitation or sexual traumas, whether it be rape or molestation, or maybe you've experienced FGM, female genitalia mutilation, and any of its forms, child marriage, maybe you were forced into some form of sex trafficking, or forced prostitution, whatever it is, whatever the experience was that may have exploited your sexual energy for power that wasn't your own power, but pouring that power towards someone else. You are experiencing, obviously, some disorders in your mind and in your emotions and in your body. And a lot of the times these traumas teach you to hide. I put out a video some time ago that sexual trauma taught you how to hide, and now it's time to play hide and seek. So these traumas teach you how to hide. It teaches you how to play the small role. It teaches you to shrink yourself and to be invisible. You teach yourself to be this way because due to the traumas, you don't want to be seen, most likely. You don't want to be heard, most likely. And so you play these small roles. As we all know, if you don't know, go ahead and get your copy of my book, Activate Unorthodox Philosophies that explore anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts as symptoms of suppressed superpower. Your sexual power is the fuel to everything that goes on in your body and in your mind. And when your sexual power is exploited, or being poured out, or being stuck and stagnant due to only using it sexually with someone else, you are taking away from other very powerful, basically you're not opening the door to other things within your body and in your mind, because your sexual energy is only being used one way. It's only being used, or has only mostly been used, for someone else's gain or someone else's pleasure. And you've negated yourself. You've negated your own mental health, your own physical well-being, your own emotional well-being. And so one of the things that I noticed as I was doing the work on myself, you guys know, if you read my book, you know about the sexual traumas that I've experienced as a child, from a babysitter, and me doing the inner work to heal that within myself, and to alchemize that within myself. And also, I just want to add, sexual traumas can also be being in relationships where the sexual connection was unhealthy. That's a sexual trauma too. When you're in a relationship with someone and you're sexually active with them, meaning intercourse and penetration, and it wasn't healthy. They weren't healthy for you. Maybe they were a toxic person. Maybe every time you were intimate with them, it was mainly about them and it wasn't about you. That is also traumatic and exploitative as well when it comes to sexual energy. A lot of times we don't talk about that, but that is a part of what can create trauma as far as your sexual energy and power is concerned. But one of the things that I noticed doing the work on myself over the years, going into the shadows of my mind and my body and alchemizing these pains and channeling the sexual power in more than just one way. Channeling sexual power to fuel yourself in so many ways, in so many infinite ways. As I was doing this work on myself, what I discovered is how I walked. I included some research in my book, Activate Again, from Dr. Joelle Pukram. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Joelle Pukram, a powerful, just knowledgeable and conscious sister. She was around, I think she really started to come on the scenes in the early 90s with sharing some of her research, her science and medically based research on how your body forms when you've experienced sexual trauma, and how a lot of us who've experienced sexual trauma, especially in Black communities, our body forms in a way where you can tell someone has been sexually assaulted. You can tell by our legs. Most of us who have what we consider not knees, okay, your legs that grow closer together and your knees are closer together. There's a lot of research, medically inclusive research, that suggests that when your hips and your legs grow into each other that way, you most likely have experienced sexual trauma. And Joelle Pukram was the first physician who said this publicly, who talked about this publicly. I haven't heard any doctor since her talk about this and actually share the research and scientific research and the medical analysis around it to express its plausibility. So, meaning to say, there is substantial research to suggest that this is true, that this is not some made up woo-woo stuff, that this is medically backed science and information and truth. And so she was able to take what she knew medically and what she knows spiritually and combine both worlds, which is why I had to include her research in my book. But when I started to do this work on myself, I noticed that about myself. You just think you're born that way, but according to Dr. Pukram, that is not normal, that our legs and our knees and our hips grow into each other like that. It's not normal that your knees are connected or grow into each other that way. That usually is indicative of some sort of sexual assault or exploitation. And the reason being that Dr. Joelle Pukram explains is that your body's trying to protect itself. When your body is tensing up, your energy is tensing up, your spiritual self is trying to protect your physical self, and your body will literally attempt to protect itself by growing in. It will grow into itself. We would teach our bodies to grow into itself because we're trying to protect. It's trying to protect the sacred part of us down there, this ancient part of us down there. And so, again, as I was doing this work on myself, let me just go back. A lot of things aren't just genetic. Having a plethora. For example, in my family, we hold a lot of weight and a lot of fat. We have a lot of fat or adipose tissue around our midsection, our back, and our thighs. And so when I started to do this work on myself, turning pain into power and activating this power, and setting it free from where it's been trapped and exploited and suppressed and demonized, I noticed my body start to change. I noticed my hips start to spread a bit more because I was doing certain physical exercises to open up my hip flexors. The energy centers in my body were starting to open up and have more fluidity instead of being trapped and enclosed on itself, because I do this inner work energetically, and I do the work physically, and I do the work as far as certain nutrients that I take, how I meditate, how I sit when I meditate, through movement, through dance, how I lie on the floor and spread my legs like birthing position. There's a number of things that you do on this journey and that you're intuitively guided to do. You don't necessarily have to go and read a book. There are no steps 1, 2, 3, ABC. It's what you're intuitively guided to do. You will see pictures in your mind. Your spiritual guides will give you pictures in your mind of what to do, of how to open up your body and how to set these energies free. And so I noticed, just in the way I walk. So also in the way that I walk. So not only in the shape of my hips and my knees that came together, but I noticed that my walking has shifted. I used to walk in a way that I would restrict myself when I walked because I didn't want my butt to jiggle. I didn't want my hips to pop side to side because growing up, if you walked a certain way and there was an adult around, especially female adults around, especially also in the Black community, you would hear, "Oh, she fast in the ass because of the way she walk," or "Who you think you trying to twist for," and things like that. And so my body naturally has always, the way that my hips are aligned and the way that my legs are built, I've always had a natural twist when I walked. And partly because one of my hips are higher than the other, so that's also something that I'm working out. But I always just had this kind of sway, and as a child growing up, I forced myself to. I hope this isn't too loud. As a child growing up, I forced myself to hide my sway, to hide the way that my hips swung left to right, because I didn't want to be considered the girl who was fast ass around adult personnel. I didn't want to come off as too seen, especially having experienced sexual trauma from a female babysitter. I didn't want to come off as fast ass or hot in the tail. And so I taught myself how to hide. I taught myself how to be stiff. I forced my hips not to move side to side when I walked. I would clench in even my butt cheeks so that they wouldn't do it. I would stiffen my legs so that they just remained straight, very robotic, almost very soldier-like. And I slouched over because I was insecure about my height. I was always the tallest of my friend groups growing up. And so I'm 5'9", and I hit my growth spurt pretty early in my life. And so I taught myself how to slouch and hide. And so not only did my body teach itself to close itself in due to the sexual trauma, I mentally, energetically taught myself to close in because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be called out. I didn't want to be the girl that walked different from everybody else. I didn't want to have a certain type of walk that would garner me attention because I didn't want to be seen, because attention was dangerous, right, in my mind growing up. And so as I start to do this work on myself, turning the pain into power, again, if you haven't got my book, Activate: Unorthodox Philosophies that Explore Anxiety, Depression, and Suicidal Thoughts as Symptoms of Suppressed Superpower, you are missing out. But you will know that the book is for you. You'll be naturally guided to get it. It is available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. So as I started to do this work on myself energetically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, doing certain movements in my home, doing certain movements when I'm walking on the trail, I noticed that my hips have spread. I noticed that my legs, naturally, I walk close together. I used to try to force my legs to be different, to try to force them from not being in the way that they grew. But now they're naturally just forming in a way that they were always meant to form. I'm still very much parrot-toed, but my feet don't go as much in as they used to. I'm still, again, working out. My one hip is higher than the other, so I'm still working through that type of thing. I'm going to be seeing a chiropractor and a physical therapist. I have an appointment to see to get acupuncture done, but I do certain type of stretches. I do Pilates and things like that. So I do what I do because I notice it, but I also notice that my body is just naturally shifting on its own because of the energetic work that I do. And so when I'm hiking and stuff, when I'm on the trails, I used to be conscious about how I walked. because I didn't want to, I used to try to hide again the way that I walked. But as you do this inner work on yourself, you will notice that your energy just starts to shift. Like today when I was hiking, I kind of honed in on how I walked, and I noticed that I was very relaxed in my walking. I mean, you have some tenseness because you're going uphill, you're using your muscles, you're using all that kind of stuff. But now my hips, I allow them to do what they're going to do. And to the outside, people may think that she's twisting, right? But not the case. That is naturally how my hips and my legs have always really moved and have always needed to move. But I kept those types of things suppressed because, again, I didn't want to have a certain look. I didn't want to be seen as being a certain kind of way. But as I allow, the natural part of me to just do what it does, my hips twist, my legs pop back a little bit. I have a natural kind of walk. I remember one time I was in high school. It was a friend girl who I knew in high school, and if she ever listens to this, she'll know I'm talking about her. I know she really wasn't a friend of mine. She never was. She hated me because I dated a guy who she loved, who she wanted all of her life, but he chose me, right? So she always hated me. But so we always had this hate friend type of relationship because we were kind of sort of in this, not same friend groups, but we were kind of involved in the same type of stuff. She was a singer, I sung at the time, and stuff like that. So anyway, I remember one time she told me, she was watching me walk, and she says, "You got that stank Miami girl walk." Right? I remember her telling me that in high school, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, I do. I took it, and it stayed with me for so long. And I remember how I tried to adjust my walk based on what she said, because I didn't want to have whatever the Miami stank girl walk looked like, right? Miami stank girl walk. I was like, wow. Thinking back on that now, I'm like, bitch. You hating bitch. But anyway, so it's funny because when I walk naturally as myself, now I hear people say things like, "Are you a model?" Okay? It went from, "Oh, you got a stank Miami girl walk." I grew up in Miami, for those of you that don't know. All of my grade school years were there. So I was born in Atlanta, but I grew up there. So yeah, it went from, me trying to hide and suppress my walk, to somebody like that girl who said, "You got the stank Miami girl walk," to now people saying, "Are you a model? Do you do runway? You walk like a model," right? And I'm not trying to. It's the natural flow of my body. And this is something that I've always suppressed, which has kept my power dormant and inactivated and suppressed because I tried to hide this. So I'm sharing this with those of you who are on this journey of turning your pain into power, who are alchemizing pain into power, who are turning your painful experiences into gold, from lead to gold. That's the journey of the alchemist, the journey of the phoenix, right? Pay attention to your body. Watch how it starts to shift as you start to do this work on yourself. You'll be intuitively guided on what to do to open up the energy sectors in your body. And we always begin at the root, just like a tree. When you're planting a seed into the ground, you always begin at the root of the thing, and the root being your root chakra, the sexual centers of your body. That is where the work always begins, and continues to evolve. It continues to rise from there in more ways than one. As you do this work on yourself, you'll start to feel yourself get aroused. You'll start to feel yourself get turned on, because that energy is awakening and activating and is ready to move itself through your body to other parts of your body, to fuel those parts in your body, to fuel other parts of your mind, and then pour out into your life. So I just wanted to share that. If you don't know who Dr. Joelle Pookrum is, Pookrum, first name Joelle, Jewell. look her up. You will thank me later. You can reach out to her on Instagram and let her know that you just love her research. She actually is located here in Atlanta, Georgia. I've tried to make an appointment with her for the past couple years and I've not been successful at that. But anyway, look her up. She has some research on this type of information. You don't have to just take it from me. I'm just sharing with you what the experience has been for me. And I didn't look up that information from Dr. Pukram. As you start to do this work on yourself, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, so to speak. So as I was doing this inner work on myself, her information found its way to me, just naturally and organically. And so you'll notice that as you are on this journey of turning your pain into power, that stuff will show up for you that you didn't have to Google. The algorithms are all set up in a way where you don't have to Google, and the phones are listening to you anyway. So shit is going to start to show up to you in ways you don't have to Google. Your spirit guides will guide things to you in ways when you don't have to Google it. And so when it does show up for you, when research and information shows up for you, it'll be confirmation. It'll be confirmation of something you already know, intuitively know, and have already been told internally and spiritually by your spiritual guides. It's already been revealed to you. So when the information shows up, it'll just be confirmation for you. So I just wanted to share that. If you are on this journey of turning your pain into power, of alchemizing your sexual energy for more reasons than just one, then I'm happy for you. You're not alone. This journey is not for the faint of heart, but I cannot wait to see what you unleash. I can't wait to see what you've been hiding all of this time. For those of you who are subscribed here on Fireside Chats for Global Women, thank you for subscribing here. For those of you who have not, what the hell are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Love me like you do. La, 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 you like you do. Okay. So go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It's not too hard. If what I say here resonates with you, then I don't have to ask you to do that. Anyway, again, you can get your copy of Activate on Unorthodox Philosophies that explore anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts as symptoms of suppressed superpower on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Visit my website, TimméshaBurgess.com, and I will see you all on the flip side. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment below so that I know that what I say speaks to you. Don't be shy. Tell me who you are and where you're from. Okay? So like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.